Hello and welcome to NONI, Yanga's flagship talk show, where we discuss the topics that you, our viewers at home, are talking about just that little bit louder. I'm Afua Adom, and today I'll be asking my guests, with the casting of a black actress to play Ariel, the Little Mermaid, are Disney guilty of tokenism? So, who are my guests? Well, joining me today are presenter and blogger Natalie De Silva, illustrator Dapo Adiola, and presenter and host Linda E. Welcome everyone. Now, in one of the most controversial decisions in modern times, Disney has incurred the wrath of its fans by announcing the part of Ariel in its new live-action version of The Little Mermaid will be played by an actress of colour. Yep, that's right, the iconic red-headed, blue-eyed, white-skinned girl with a fishtail, remember that, will now be portrayed by Halle Bailey, one half of R&B duo Chloe and Halle. For the record, she looks like this. So the objections go like this. For their other live-action films, Disney have quite rightly cast Middle Eastern actors for Aladdin, and the majority of the cast for The Lion King are African and black voice actors. But Ariel has always been portrayed as being white. So they see this as nothing more than tokenism, and woke tokenism at that, which for many is the very worst sort. Are they right? Are Disney playing a race card? Are they guilty of affirmative action or blackwashing their back catalogue to earn liberal brownie points, whilst riding roughshod over the hopes and dreams of their traditional white audience? We've got a woman as Doctor Who, and it's heavily rumoured there will be a black female 007 in the new Bond film. So is this just more of the same political correctness gone mad? Or is there a method in Disney's madness? Are they simply redressing the balance which saw years of characters portrayed as Caucasian, be they princesses, wizards or mermaids? But do we as a black community want to see the balance redressed like this, or would we prefer our own characters? At the end of the day, however well-meaning Disney mean to be, is this just a token gesture that should be rejected as such, instead of telling people to get over themselves? After all, folks, it's just a mermaid. White fragility, tokenism, reverse racism, we've got it all here on today's panel. So let's discuss. Guys, this is a heated one. We've been talking a lot about this off air. So, Halle Bailey, going to be the brand new Little Mermaid in the live action remake. Linda, what do you think?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a couple of things.
Okay.
I think Disney are redressing, and I think there is an element of tokenism. However, that's not a bad thing. The fact is we need representation. So the more of ourselves we see on screen, the better it is for future generations. I want little kids to be like, you know what, I can play any actor or actress I want. I can play any role I want, should I say. It shouldn't just be, oh, do you know what, these roles are just for white children or white actress.
Technically, Linda, any child cannot play any role they want. Because if you think about it, say we made a movie about Osantiwa, who was the Asante, the Queen Mother in Ghana in the Ashanti times in the 1800s. If, for instance, Kate Beckinsale was going to play that part, that's not going to work for me.
Yes.
So, in fact, anybody can't play any part.
Tell that to Hollywood, because we've had Scarlett Johansson playing the part of a Japanese woman.
And that wouldn't work.
For me, I agree with you, and I also agree with yourself, right? So it's not a situation where anyone can just play anyone, especially if it's a historically accurate portrayal that we're looking for. Yeah. However, in the case of this specific thing, it's a fictional character. It's a fairy tale character. Anyone can be Ariel. Like anyone can be Ariel from any background can be Ariel. Like it's and also if we're gonna really deep it and we're gonna talk about the mythological aspects of it as well, mermaids are not a Caucasian, they're not of Caucasian origin. The fiction around mermaids is not exclusively a Caucasian thing.
And I think that's something we really have to remember here, is this is a mythological character and it's a mermaid. It's half person, half fish. I think I'm more concerned about her fin and her swimming ability than I am about how the other half
the
of
human
her
half
body. Exactly, because it's only half of her, What do you think, Natalie?
I feel like Disney did a really clever thing. I feel like when they were casting, they knew, do you know what, we want this film to have impact, we want people to be talking about it 10 years from now, to be current, exactly. So they said, you know what, let's get a black girl. to headline this. And they know that when they headline it, it's going to make a lot of money. And that's what they're after at the end of the day.
But also, let me put it to you. This isn't just any black girl. So she's one half of Halle times Chloe, Chloe times Halle, Chloe and Hailey, whoever they are. They are Beyonce's proteges.
Yeah.
They're not just tapping into the black community, you're tapping into the beehive.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's 6 billion really, really passionate people. And they already did that with The Lion King by having Beyonce voice Nala and then the whole spin-off album. So don't you think that it's Disney actually just monetizing this?
Thing is, it is, but it's still going to have a good impact. This is the thing. Yes, I think that they have been very smart in what they've done. They're doing it for monetary reasons. Perhaps. However, it will have such a good impact on future generations. Yes, we do want our own characters. Yes, we do want to have our own stories. But we need to know that we are able to play mythological characters and not just assigned to white people. And I think in 10 years' time, when kids grow up and see, oh, do you know what? The Little Mermaid was black, you know? Yeah, well, we could do it. Do you know what I mean? That's why whether or not it's money, they're still going to have a positive impact in the long run. And it's going to open up more opportunities. I really think that's what's going to happen.
So another fact to look at for me personally is that with a lot of these films that are being remade, they're not being remade for our generations that grew up on the original content. They're being made for the next generation. So I think that in that respect, this is massively important. Like, this was the right move. Whether or not it was a financial decision, financially driven decision, it's still the right move because we didn't have that growing up. Do you know what I mean? So I think for my nieces, for my goddaughter, it's massively important that they constantly see representations of themselves across the board. On TV, in all popular media. So this is, it's not for us, you know?
It's not for us,
and the
is
people
it?
that are getting
That's
up
true.
in arms, they are us. They're
Yeah,
people
old
that grew up on the
generation.
old,
Yeah.
let it go.
But do you think the PR behind this particular announcement has been pretty intense? And the PR machine has been working really hard because when Zendaya was playing Mary Jane in the brand new Spider-Man film, it was just like, you know, she's playing that part. No one really made a big deal about it. And Mary Jane was traditionally white
red hair.
and a redhead, right?
Yeah.
And that was just, she just did it. And it was fine. Another mythological character or a fake character or a fictional character, thank you, who was a redhead. It was now a young black girl. And it was just sort of went under the radar. But don't we think there's something else going on when it comes to this?
The thing that Natalie and I were discussing in the waiting room while we were waiting to come on was there's a slight element of colorism. Like, I feel like, white audiences, Caucasian audiences are more accepting of a certain level of ethnicity or blackness that makes them comfortable. Zendaya fits that to a T. She's she's easy on the eye, she's confident, she's not too black. Do you know what I mean? So like when they announced that, people were, let's have a bit of that, let's have some of that. Whereas Halle, even though she's not as dark as you can get, she is more black.
She's not Lupita Nyong'o.
She's more black in appearance than Zendaya is. So straight off the bat, people were like up in arms.
But there was backlash about Zendaya. There was backlash. There was,
not to the same extent.
But you don't forget. But Mary Jane isn't. Even though she is an important character, she's not a headline character.
It wasn't like actual
her story
Spider-Man.
only exists because she's with Spider-Man. Whereas Ariel is a whole legacy in and herself. So people are gonna make more. Because for example, there's a program called Flash. I'm a big DC fan. They have cast Flash's love interest as a black woman, where in the comics as a white woman. People were up in arms about that. But once again, she's not a character that can stand alone. So when it's a standalone character, people are going to say more. It's a bigger deal.
And there's rumours that we know that the new Thor is going to be a female character, and there's rumours that it could be a black female. Do you think white people would just completely lose it?
They will. They will definitely lose their mind.
The tricky thing for me, again, because this is comics we're talking about here, and this is where I get real passionate.
Me too.
Oh wow, me too.
So
It's
when
about to
we were
happen.
talking about the Flash, that was interesting because when I saw her initially, I was like, why?
Why are you like, why?
Because the comic book that I grew up reading, she was a white woman.
Okay, so
Iris
what?
West, if I'm correct.
Iris,
She was a white woman. So I was
why
like,
for you was it an issue that she was suddenly a black woman?
because it felt like a real tokenism thing. Like it felt, because she's a side character.
Yeah, but in the story of the Flash, they've changed. The dad is black as well, so they've made it rounded out. They rounded it out nicely.
So it didn't. Again, it worked, but my initial response upon seeing the very first episode was like, "Yo, this is bait. This is tokenism. You're just trying to pander to the black audience, right?
wrong with that?
Hold on, exactly. Are they pandering to the black audience, or is it about inclusion, and is it about
Let me land.
actually?
So-
let me land. Or is it? Is it about bringing in all these different characters? There's an Asian character in Spider-Man. You've got Zendaya, who's a black character. Is it about inclusivity, not just about people being able to see themselves, but actually including these actors who are talented? Why can't they play these parts?
So again, as I was leading to say, my initial response when I first saw it was like, why? But then as I got to watch it and I got to see that the cast of the Flash itself is very multicultural, I warmed to it instantly. And my whole thing then became, okay, this is good. We're seeing people, they're all capable actors.
They are.
It's not like they're not capable actors, because if they were, pardon the expression, if they were trash, then I'd be like, ugh. But they're not. They're all very capable actors, and they all fit. Cisco Ramon, come on. They all fit their roles, and they play their roles very well. So with that in mind, now I'm very much more open to it. Because my thing is, I was very much like, the tokenism thing. I always used to look at it in a negative way.
So should we do the same with Halle Bailey? Should
100%.
we give her a chance to play the part and then decide?
Definitely.
I think so. I think, do you know what? Before, I think the Disney execs were like, if there was going to be an ethnically minority person playing a lead character, they would be like, why? The same as your response, they'll be like, why would we get an ethnic minority person to play this? But I think because they're getting onto the hype of, they're thinking black movies make billions of dollars in the box office. So they're like, do you know what? We need to level up. We need to also include this so that we can get more supporters, more revenue, because at the end of the day, that's what they're there for, to make money.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Absolutely. Listen, we could go on for ages. We probably will, but we need to take a short break. But when we come back, I want to pick up on the point that you made there about Disney thinking black execs, yes, we need to start thinking about how much money that these movies do make, that black movies make, and how we can tie into that. And do we believe in the concept of white fragility? And do we think it will ever be accepted by the white community en masse? See you after the break. Welcome back to NONI with me, Afua Adom, and my guests, Natalie De Silva, Dapo Adiola, and Linda E. So the question we were discussing before the break was, are Disney guilty of tokenism by casting a black actress to play Ariel, the Little Mermaid? And Natalie made a great point about Disney tokenism, so I want to talk more about that. But first of all, I want to read this tweet that someone called Hilary Monaghan tweeted this around when this controversy first came up about Halle Bailey being cast as Ariel. She said Disney created 49 films from 1937 to 2009 before delivering the first black princess with Tiana in 2009. Black girls watched an entire catalogue, never seeing themselves for 70 years.
It's dreadful.
And when you put it like that, so basically myself, Linda, and Natalie, we grew up never seeing a black princess till Tiana came along. And Natalie, you were saying that probably Disney have woken up to the fact that, look, black movies, Black Panther, prime example, made a bucket load of cash and was up for loads of Oscar nominations. So do you think maybe Disney's ex have just woken up to the fact that, look, our audience base isn't just white people?
Yeah, I think they have. I think they've done their homework, which is important. They have not been ignorant about the situation. They know what's going on. So what they do is they tap into anything that's trending particularly. So right now it's black businesses, black leads in films, and they know that, of course, it's going to generate a lot of money, and they need that. They need that continuity. They need people to talk about it, because at the end of the day, they need a buzz for people to join and to stay current as well. Yeah.
And you know what? I think we're in a time where black people, people of ethnic minorities, are having a voice.
Yeah.
Whether they're becoming super mega successful ententertainers or business leaders. So we need to be included in these big films and these historical kind of things, like, because Disney is a huge historical franchise. Do you know what I mean? So it's about time that we get included, but we also need to have more stories. There needs to be another black princess. We can't just have one.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's very, very true.
One thing for me, I mean, Linda's correct, we drive culture to a large extent, so it makes sense for what we're seeing on TV to reflect that. One thing for me, though, is what's happening behind the screens. Who's writing this?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who's writing this? Who are the producers? Who are those people reflective of the diversity that's on screen as well, because that's important, because it's not just about what's on the screen, it's about who's telling the stories.
I mean, you've got Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's going to be doing the music for this, and of course wrote Hamilton, which was, you know, phenomenal and legendary for that's all right, I'll hook you up. But legendary for the diversity of its cast. You had 3 sisters, and one is always black, one is always Asian, and one is always white, in these famous 3 sisters. So do you think, you know, if you have someone like Lin-Manuel on board, that he'll bring on other people, and then it will be true diversity? Because you, like you very rightly said, it's not just about in front of the camera, it's about who's behind him, who's driving it.
I think it would be more reflective. I mean, the thing again is, because Lin-Manuel Miranda is doing the soundtrack, if I'm correct, right? I think having somebody write it, for me personally, is more important than having somebody of an ethnic background do the music, because if you check it, music is another thing that we're synonymous with doing. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Whereas having somebody write it, produce it, direct it, those are the roles that we don't see enough black people doing.
Like, I say, get a Jordan Peele in there, make it a bit dark. Why not? Get out with the Little Mermaid.
Get out Little Mermaid, get out the ocean.
Exactly. You heard it here first. Now, I want to ask about the concept of white fragility. And do you think it exists? And if so, do you think it will ever be accepted en masse by the white community? White fragility. I'm going to give you a little bit of a definition, you know me. So, it is the state in which even a minimum amount of racial stress, becomes intolerable, triggering off defensive moves among the white community. It's a real thing, I think.
It's definitely a real thing. It's 100% a real thing. I don't even know if that's ever going to change, because as human beings, forget what race you are. As a human being, you are defensive. We all have automatic defenses when we are targeted in some capacity. Now, when it comes to race, you cannot physically change your skin tone. I don't care what anyone says, you actually can't.
Rachel Dolezal thinks differently, but that's a different show.
You know, but, you know, so that's such a personal thing. I think the white era, white power, white domination, imperialism, whatever, they've been in power for so long. They have been the faces of everything for so long, have been at the forefront for so long, that when that now is being taken away from them, come on, who happily gives away power?
No. Absolutely. That's it. It's the threat to that construct that they're used to, isn't it? Sorry,
So for me, I think you're 100% correct. Another angle of it for me, though, is when we talk about fragility, when we talk about the defense thing, there are people who have been so comfortable with the privilege that's been afforded to them for centuries that the idea that they could possibly be racist or possibly be what's the other word that I can use here?
Well, prejudice.
It's completely offensive.
It's completely like they don't even check the microaggressions that they do on a daily basis. So the idea, you know, oh, I don't see color. That's a warning sign for me. And also I have the typical one. I have black friends. So we all know this. So the idea, their ego, their whole everything is so fragile that the idea, the simple idea, would just break it all down. And that's what white fragility is for me. And in that respect, it does exist, because real talk, if somebody accuses me of something and I know I'm not that thing, I'll just be like, all right, show me. Show me.
But they're not having it. They're not having
it's literally an essay of why I'm not. And I haven't even told you what you did. But I'm not. Like,
but also I don't have time to read your tribes of this essay that you've written. Natalie, do you ever think the white community will ever accept that they perpetuate white fragility, that white fragility is a thing?
I feel like they are trying to not think about it as much. I feel like anytime someone brings up race, it kind of offends them, and they feel like it kind of is like having a flashback. You know, when you have a flashback, you think, oh my gosh, my race did this, my race did that. So it would break them. It would break them. So for them, they're just like, I don't want to mention race. I don't want nothing to do with it, just so that they don't have to think about the devastation that happened.
It's an inability to disassociate themselves, their actual self, with the history of their people. because they automatically feel like you are accusing them of being bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not a bad person.
How dare you?
I don't have slaves.
And then the tears.
Not anymore. Yes. And then
we have white tears. And then, everyone's crying.
I miss white tears. Right, we have a caller into the show. We've got David from London on the line. David, what do you have to say to us about white fragility?
Well, I just think it's just another example of like you lot all wanting everybody to be sort of like not having any other colours. So why can't we have a black? Why can't we have a white mermaid? Because that's what she was. Wanting that when you turn around and say everyone's racist, I just think it's pathetic, really.
So you're saying why can't we have a white mermaid?
That's what she was in the beginning, wasn't she? That's what I've got the book. My little daughter's got the book, and that's when it first started. She was a white mermaid.
But David, I have a question. I'm sure my panel wouldn't mind if I put it to you. Yes. Why can't we have a black mermaid? Why is this so offensive to you?
Well, because she started off as white, and then you're making her black, and this is happening everywhere. You mentioned about Doctor Who. I mean, Doctor Who, Doctor. That's a bloke, isn't it? And that is made her into a woman.
So hold on. Sorry. All doctors are male, are they, David?
No, it's not saying. I'm saying that, like, Doctor Who. Yeah, but Doctor Who's a man, isn't he? I mean, he's always been a man. Every time he changes into. But now everything's got to be, it's all got to be like politically correct. So they've got a woman, and that kind of doesn't make sense. That's what they're doing with the Little Mermaid.
So Dapo, yes.
David, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, so I feel like I'm able to answer this question.
Oh, please.
If you know about Doctor Who, you know about the regenerational cycle that happens every other season, where we have a different person take up the mantle of Doctor Who. So there's nothing written in Doctor Who's lore at all that prevents Doctor Who from changing into absolutely anything or any person. Black, white, Hispanic, woman, trans, anything. Doctor Who can literally be anything they want to be. And also, in answer to your question about why do we have to have a black mermaid, we've had a white mermaid.
Thank you.
Why can't we have a black mermaid in the second iteration of Disney's The Little Mermaid? What's wrong with that?
David?
Well, I can just chuck it back at you then. You've got this character, Shaft, that Samuel. Why can't we have a white Shaft? How would you lot feel if we took Shaft?
Why can't we have a white
Shaft?
White you lot.
To be honest, David, I'm pretty sure if we check cinema throughout the ages, we probably had a white character that can fall into the line of Shaft somewhere along the line.
But that's not Shaft, though.
And also, David, who knows what's going to happen in the future?
It's not even that. David, you do realise that there are loads of black people in this world, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? You know there's a lot of ethnicities in this world, not just white people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do know we have the right to be represented on everything we watch, see, and hear, right?
Yeah.
So what I think you need to do, David, is go to cinema and watch that new Little Mermaid when it comes out.
Yeah.
Take your daughter.
If Halle Bailey does a good job, go and watch a sequel. But until then, I think you have nothing to worry about.
Right.
Okay, well.
Thanks for your time, David.
Thank you very much for your opinions and your time there, David. It's always interesting to see what people at home think, right? And there's going to be a lot of people thinking the same thing as him. Yeah. I've had the traditional Little Mermaid. My daughter knows it as a nice white redheaded girl. Why do we need change?
So this goes back to what I said about the generation.
And the fragility.
So I'm pretty sure if the daughter did not witness her father's reaction, she wouldn't care. Children don't care on that level.
It starts.
They really don't.
It
starts with them looking and seeing it from someone else. They don't care on that level. They don't. Dad's disappointed. Oh, I love my dad. Why is Ariel black? She doesn't care. She really doesn't care.
That's the thing. As children, we don't see any different. It's we're then taught that actually this thing is different
good,
to you.
This is bad.
This is what it is. What kind of? Why would you not? When I hear people say things like that, I just hope that one of their descendants falls in love with a person of colour, and the melanin goes so richly that it goes back into their ancestry.
Back in
Let me
time.
be really honest with you. Me, I don't wish that on any person of colour, because to be in that situation and have to deal with David as a dad, I don't wish that on anybody.
It's true.
I'm sorry, I don't
That's
wish that on
true.
anybody. That's another level of suffrage. No, let's just leave that.
So do you think actually, we talked about this being a generational thing. I'm sure young people who are going to get into this film, and it's going to be, 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds who doesn't love a Disney film, who doesn't love Disney princesses. Do you think actually the older generation are to blame for this backlash? Natalie, what do you think?
Do you know what? It's a double-edged sword. I think we're at a point now where we had to grow up not having that kind of role model with Disney. But I think now we just kind of got to really accept who we are, and if no one's representing us, we'll just represent ourselves, kind of thing.
That's
Do you know
it.
what I mean? So
That's it.
Yes, I think Disney are doing good now that they're including. It might be tokenism. They might want to do it because of the money, but as Linda said, at the end of the day, we're getting represented on a wide scale. Disney's huge around the world. So I think, the reach is enormous. So we should just accept that with open arms. And with that opportunity, I think whoever's, create more content, create more products, more things that could represent us more.
Absolutely.
I think there's this idea that two things can't happen at the same time.
can.
That tokenism cannot exist and be a positive thing.
Yeah.
And we can't also create our own content at the same time.
But we
Both
can.
happen
At
at
the
the
same
same time. In fact, if both are happening at the same time, they will feed into each
Exactly.
other.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, just more of us everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I'm loving that. That's it from me, Afua Adom, and my absolutely fantastic guests, Natalie De Silva, Dapo Adiola, and Linda E. Thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget, every single episode of NONI, past and present, is online at yangatv.com. So wherever you are in the world, you can see this show and other great content from Yanga. Join us again soon for more entertaining chat. Goodbye.